All right, so over 300 days of the hostages stuck in Gaza. And I wanted to say that, again, not a day goes by that we don't think about all of our family members who are still there, whether they're alive or they're not. And the crazy thing about it is that it could have happened to either one of us, to any of our children or us as well. You know, Benny told me, my son told me that he has a friend there. His name is Bar Cooperstein, 22-year-old kid. And I just think about his family, his parents, and how would I feel if my kids were there? And it's such a dark and heavy feeling. So I wanted to say that, like, even though we're going to have a great time and everything today, nothing is the same until the hostages come back. If I could, I would frickin' run to the Gaza border and I would just go in there looking with my pen and look for them myself. I don't know how a mother is able to sit at home while this is going on and not just totally freak out. Anyways, on that note, David, for David, banana, for David, me,
Dayna,
my David. David, my brother David Kaplan is on the Dayna show. Woo, 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 woo.
Well, let's discuss why I'm here. Really, you told me that I'm getting free beer, so
Everyone gets free beer.
Well, that was my main impetus to coming here today.
Impetus.
No, that impetus. You like that word? Anyway, no, it wasn't my main impetus. You know, you're my sister, and I love the work you're doing. I love the podcast I do. I listen to it, and I get nachas when I listen to my sister talk about, you know, different things that are going on in this country. And I'm proud of you. I think it's great. I really like it. I like it a lot.
Thank you.
I'm
happy for the encouragement, and you know, you're a big reason why I started.
Oh my gosh.
I know my first episode with Ari, like he was definitely a part of it because we bounced ideas off each other many years ago. But you are like an entrepreneur. In my eyes, it's like you've started the Uncle Dave's fish business. You started the grilling for IDF. We're going to get into this whole thing, all these different projects in a minute. But it's like you were attracted to something, you enjoyed doing something, and you just went ahead and did it. You didn't ask for support from anyone. You just went with your feeling, and you grew these things on your own, and now they're huge. Grilling for IDF, you want to tell everybody what it's all about?
Sure. Grilling for IDF, formerly for IDF, but now Grilling for Israel. It started off as a grassroots organization.
Forget about the grassroots bullshit. Tell me about the idea that came in your head to start the whole thing.
Well, it was quite simple. You know, Noach was in Miluim, my son Noach. I'm really not supposed to talk about my family, I guess, because they don't want me.
You could just say your son. You don't have to
Excuse me.
divulge all the.
My son, one of my sons, who will remain nameless, he was in Miluim, and I'm not sure exactly how, the conversation we had, but he thought it would be a good idea if we would make him and his group a barbecue. You know, they're on a base and they don't get the best food, and
you're really strong into barbecue.
Yeah, I'm a big barbecuer. I smoke meat every week and barbecue meat all the time. And he thought
amazing meat.
Yeah, so
amazing meat.
Yeah, it's great stuff. So he thought it would be a good idea to have a barbecue, and at the time, Elliot Auerbacher who was formerly from a big catering company in North America, got along. We went together to say, hey, let's put it out there and go and have a barbecue for a group of soldiers. So we got a bunch of friends and we bought a bunch of meat and we got it all together and we showed up at his base.
Who paid for all the meat?
In the beginning, I think it was donated by the people that went out to go and barbecue at the time. And it was a massive success. We brought everything in. We had a group of about 20 volunteers who came with us in a convoy to the army base. We set everything up. We barbecued. We had a great, amazing time with the soldiers. And we saw that really they this was something. First of all, they couldn't believe that a group of, relatively non-Israeli. I mean, we're Israeli in that fact that we're immigrants, but we're not exactly, born here, or Sabras, are coming out to their base to provide food for them, and they were in wonderment. They didn't understand, right?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
So we had to tell them, you guys are protecting us. We can sleep at night because you're here, and we want to do something for you.
Okay.
So it started out that way with Noach, and they showed us around the base, and everyone had a great time, and it was like drinks and barbecue and fun and laughter. It was just an amazing event.
Okay.
We thought it was so amazing. Let's try to do it again. So we went out, I don't know, maybe 2 to 3 weeks later to do it again. And we were met with also an amazing, response by the soldiers. And we could see that they felt so amazing that someone's really thinking of them, It was eye-opening because, I'm sure they're deal with a lot of boredom. Sometimes they must wonder, the soldiers, like, what am I doing here? Like, what's the point? And a lot of them are really inspired by us, and we're more inspired by them than they, I think. I mean, it's hard to know who's inspired more by who. But
they really appreciate it.
They really appreciated it.
Yeah.
So we started this out in 2020, and it was going very well. And we would have to raise enough money to go for the next one, and it would take us, a little bit of time. Well, when October the 7th happened, it was like it changed everything.
Yeah.
October 7th changed everything, not just for this, but I mean, the whole country's just changed. But basically, the country scrambled to get miluimnikim across the country in different places, and they would send a group of 100 soldiers to an area where there was nothing, like not a stitch of food, not anything to drink, nothing to eat, and 100 soldiers are sitting there. A lot of them had our phone number, because we'd done barbecues for them. We've been doing it for 4 years already. So the phone was ringing off the hook on October 7th and October 8th and October 9th. We have soldiers here, and we have no food, and we have nothing to drink, and they're freaking out, right?
Yeah.
Because there was just so much confusion.
Yeah.
So we set up a mock spot in Elliot's property, where we were grilling round the clock for the units to come and pick up food, because we couldn't go to a lot of these places.
Wow.
And we would be serving food like on our own site, and it was like thousands and thousands of meals a day, to the extent where today they throw out a number. I think it's a little more, but it's over 150,000 meals since October the 7th.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
It's unbelievable what's happened with
That
dozens and dozens and dozens of volunteers. We go out now, we do barbecues every single day for soldiers. People get a lot of benefit from it. They get a great feeling. The soldiers get a great feeling, and it's doing something for the community and the country that, we have certain skills, and we put them to use for soldiers, and it's a great feeling. We love it.
Yeah, that's amazing, Dave.
Yeah, totally.
It's really amazing, because that's exactly what this country needs, is just unity and showing support to people who are protecting us.
Definitely.
And it's like, and it's so, so important. I know my boys, every time that they got food or anything, any kind of a donation of that nature, they were so, so appreciative.
Definitely.
It's the least that we can do for them.
Yeah.
What I wanted to ask you was how you got your name, Uncle Dave, because everybody knows you as Uncle Dave. Even your kids call you Uncle Dave.
Yes.
Even though you're a grandfather now, you have I also am a great aunt, but you're a Zadie,
Yes,
a grandfather for Neely.
Thank you.
Niles, Neely.
We'll call her Little N.
Little Ed. So freaking adorable.
She's great.
But Uncle Dave.
Okay, so it's very simple, actually, and I think it has to do with your kids and Tamar's kids. Basically, my name became Uncle Dave to them. I don't think I think maybe they think my first name is Uncle. My middle name is Dave. You know what I mean? Like, I think that it's possibly that I am their uncle.
Random people call you Uncle Dave.
So it kind of stuck, because I like to be being a father is like
like even your kids call you Uncle Dave sometimes.
Right, which I don't mind.
You don't mind.
Not really, because there's an endearment. With an uncle, you're more endeared.
Yeah.
To a person than a just dad or like. So I don't mind my kid calls me Uncle Dave because my neighbors call me Uncle Dave, my friends call me Uncle Dave.
Yeah.
And I like it. It's sort of stuck. So when I started this catering business with making prepared food for Shabbat, I used the Uncle Dave thing. I think it's an endearing name, and that's why I use it.
Good.
Yeah.
How many years have you been here in Israel?
Oh, gee. I've been here since 2009. I think the math is 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm still looking.
Has it been fun? Are you having a good time yet?
I'm working on it. I try to have a good time. A lot of times I do have good times.
Listen, you copied me and followed me.
Right.
Here, right? I started the trend. You, for some reason, thought it was a good idea to copy me.
You, or?
No, I was here before Tamara.
Oh,
okay.
Oh,
I was here before Tamara. Wait, hold on a second. I was here first. I was the chalutza. I came first. Do you, I don't want to say do you regret moving here. I'll phrase it differently. Did the way you feel about Israel before you moved here match the feeling that you have now?
I'm not sure what's so funny. It's a
the
great
look on your face.
Well, it's a great question. It's a great question. 100% it did not. And again, I'm not sure why that's so funny, but
because it's an understatement.
Look, when people make changes and moves, they don't know.
Steve, you're not drinking. You take another slurp. Chaim.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for
you.
having me on the podcast.
Thank you. You're welcome. No problem. Anytime.
I love the topic also because it gives you such opportunity to discuss things that people really need to hear.
Yeah, exactly. Go for it, Dave.
So to answer your question, the expectation of what I had thought certainly did not meet the reality of coming here. Just a short little background is like first of all, people who know us know who our father was and his influence on us to come here and live here and be here. But what I wanted to say was I was in shul one week. I remember in Canada before I made Aliyah, and there was a shaliach who you may know, Rabbi Yoni Berlin, who's a great man, had a lot of influence on us. And he had a Dvar Torah in Bet Knesset. And his Dvar Torah was quite simple. He said, when we do the Amidah and we get to the Refa'enu blessing, right? So we're very serious about the Refa'enu. We have people who in our family or friends who are sick, and we say their names and we cry and it's a super emotion. And then we have the Barech Aleinu Amidah blessing, where we're asking to God change our lives. Like we want blessings in our lives. We want parnasa. We want success. We want to be. And then we get to the Mekabetz Nidchei Amo Yisrael blessing. And he says, how many of us are serious about that? We're serious about Refa'enu. We're serious about Barech Aleinu. But are we really serious about Mekabetz Nidchei Amo Yisrael, about coming to Israel and living here? How serious are we? And it had an effect on me. And I felt at that moment like I have to do something. I have to change my life. And I really did it for my children, I think, more than me, because I didn't think that I could change so much, and to grow, although we could always grow. Also, I wanted my children we're fighting a war in Israel. We're always fighting a war. And we're under attack, basically. And our lifestyle is under attack, and as Jews, we have a responsibility to one another. And sitting in Canada and having a good time just didn't seem right. I was very disillusioned about being in Canada and not being part of this fight that I felt needed to be fought.
Right. Dave, I always felt, and I think it came from Dad. I mentioned this on another podcast, but I always felt like Canada was just a temporary place for us to be. I remember as a little kid, sitting in the backyard, watching planes go over the sky and thinking to myself, one day I'm going to be on a plane going to Israel. I'm going to leave here. I never like even there was definitely like a lot of feeling towards Canada, like appreciation. And I loved our childhood and life there, but I never thought it would be in my future. I don't know if it was because of like dad's influence on the topic, or it was just a feeling that I always had. But one thing is certain is that the feeling that I've had towards Israel before October 7th and after are different. And I think that like, whereas before I thought, maybe I have an option to go back to Canada or to go live anywhere else in the world, now I feel like there is no other place. Like I don't have a home to go back to. Like I wore this shirt today, the Roots shirt, because I'm a little bit homesick, and I'm so happy that we're here. You're my fellow Canadian and every brother, and we grew up there together. I have a special place in my heart for Canada, but on the other hand, I feel like whatever happened there was in the past. Even if I went back now, it's not the same place where we grew up, and sort of like, I don't know if this is right to say, like an orphan or something. Like I don't have my place of origin is not a warm feeling for me anymore.
Right. Well,
do you feel that way also?
No, not that it.
You would
I
rather.
understand.
You still would rather go back if you had the chance.
I didn't say that. I just
okay. So tell me.
I don't feel similar to you in the fact that
I don't have to cut my head off. Just respond.
I'm not cutting your head off.
Oh, gee.
Well, first of all, my neighbor Kareen once said it is a great analogy.
What's your neighbor's name?
Kareen.
Oh, Kareen.
Kareen.
Okay.
She once said that she's Canadian. She said that Israel is the best country for Jews. Canada is the best country. Nakuda.
Not anymore.
Again, if you listen to the whole thing, she says Israel is the best country for Jews. Canada is the best country. And at the time, I mean, now that it's rife with anti-Semitism that overt. I mean, before, growing up, we did have some, but it was not like, life-threatening or totally overt, although they would come to, these anti-Semites would come to all these different Jewish events and scream and yell and whatever. It was not.
Yeah, but like Dad had a Jewish bookstore. My father's store was called Israel's. Okay. It was like the biggest neon sign for attracting anti-Semites ever. And he had incidents, but not that many, right?
No, but I think things changed a lot since October 7th.
Yeah.
You're right. Things did change a lot.
Yeah.
And the Jews there are under attack. I've spoken to many Jews there who have to hide their kosher meat in Costco and who don't feel safe. They don't feel safe walking around there with a yarmulke or looking like a Jew.
Necklace. My friends told me they
me
they can't wear their Magen David walking around.
It's that's scary.
Why the hell is everyone else allowed to practice their religion openly and safely except for Jewish people? Can you fucking explain that to me? Why everyone is so particular about racism, but when it comes to Jew, you're like, oh yeah, you can call somebody a fucking Jew. Oh yeah, you can shit on them. You could, like, why is that allowed?
Well, I think because there's a few reasons, but one of them is because we're a peaceful people. Like you can't.
So what?
You can't do that to a black guy. He's going to punch you in the face.
So
I'm just saying you could be racist to a Jew because he's going to say, oh, he'll be very docile, in my opinion. Not in Israel, but in Chutz La'aretz, for sure. The other thing is, we're a little more successful than a lot of these other minorities. And
so jealousy makes you cuckoo?
Yeah, definitely. You're allowed to crap on successful people, and they should shut up and take it because they're successful. So shut up. I don't know why. It's an age-long question about anti-Semitism, and I don't have the answers to that. I don't
really know. You're not the go-to person for that?
I don't want to talk about it on your podcast.
Fine, whatever.
No, I'm saying what I mean is
you're not allowed to say you're not allowed to talk. You don't want to talk about something.
Okay,
you don't have. I'm just
not
joking.
sure how to answer that, but I have my opinions about anti-Semitism. But I don't really know the truth. That's the truth. The truth is I don't know. I just don't know why we're so picked on. why on October 8th they're all angry at us, for we didn't even do anything yet. Like what are you so angry about? And it just continues. And they don't, when they talk about what we were doing in Gaza, there's not one word about what they did on the day before, like why we're doing it. Nothing.
Even worse than that, even though those animal terrorists, Hamas terrorists, they filmed the whole freaking thing, people were like, there's no proof. I remember it was also on October 8th. I was on social media on Instagram, and there's this guy that I follow. He takes pictures of women who are really fit, and they're beautiful pictures. They're very tastefully done. It's really nice. He writes this post about how everything that's going on in Israel is a lie. There's no proof. And I wrote him a private message. I'm like, my kid has a friend who's a hostage. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? He's like, show me proof. Everybody says they have a friend. Or I was in shock. I'm like, I can't believe that people are talking that way.
It's like Holocaust denial.
But like so blatant and so quick. They were so quick to jump on that. Everything is Israel's fault.
They're fed a bunch of news that's different than ours, and that's what they do.
You know what I learned about this whole thing? And it also transfers to like my personal life. Nobody cares about you more than you do. Israel shouldn't give a shit about what anyone else thinks about it, because at the end of the day, we're the only ones that care about us. Nobody else has our best interest in mind. Even though we're completely innocent and the world is not willing to accept it, like, if we don't take care of ourselves, if we don't like just work on making this country a better place or whatever, no one's going to do it for us. No one cares about our security. No one cares about our safety. Nobody cares about the continuation of the Jewish faith or of the Jewish culture as much as we do. And if we're not
maybe you're also a little overly sensitive to all this.
Why?
Because so what? Let them hate you. Like,
yeah, now I let. As a matter of fact, like I don't even like. Besides the fact that I have to do marketing for this podcast, I don't even listen to that garbage anymore. Good. I just don't. It's like it doesn't help me at all.
No, it doesn't help you.
And whatever. But on that note, you and I are a little bit racist towards Israelis. I'm sorry.
We're not. That's not true.
Okay.
We're racist.
There are certain things about Israeli culture that really piss us off. Okay? And we can start right now with driving. Thank you very much. We got a lot to talk about here. This is called the venting moment. Okay?
I'm so happy that you could vent now.
David, you and I are like, we can spend hours talking about how the driving situation here is so freaking dangerous, okay, and drives us bananas. Go ahead. Example number one, David. It's up to you. Go for it.
Well, look, I could go on, but I think we should sandwich this discussion with how amazing some of the people are here as well, because we can't just talk about bad drivers.
Every time I get home from work or to my destination, I have to bench Gomel. Okay. That's how extreme the situation is, okay? Every time I drive, I feel like it could be the end of my life.
Right.
Please continue.
Well, I became I don't know whether it's because I'm getting older or whether it's because I see so much insanity on the roads that I become an extremely defensive and slow driver. Because
you're super slow driver.
Well, I try
like to an extreme, yeah. Okay.
Well, I do this because I used to be fast and I used to like want to race up to the guy who cut me off and tell him how upset I am. But I realized, A, he could be pull out a gun, or B, just run me off the road, and that's happened before. Not to me personally, but I was in the car with some of my family. And we've been run off the road. This was, by the way, right after October 7th by a driver.
I remember you told me it was very dangerous.
So we were run off the road at one point, but that's a whole other story. look, we can go on and on. The number one, there's so many numbers, but there's tailgating.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Tailgating is a huge one. And I don't know whether people think that they will go faster the closer they get to your behind, or whether or not they're just in a frustrated mood, but they're driving literally inches away from your back bumper at 120 kilometers an hour.
And if you brake, what happens?
Everyone dies. I've seen that. Not dies, but
have you ever had a car who goes in front of you and then brakes on purpose?
That's not happened to me, but I'm sure as an ambulance driver, that's happened to you.
It happened to me in my private car. It was on the way to work. I was in my uniform and everything. And this guy apparently didn't like something that I did. I don't even know what it was. But I was on Route 4 on Kvish Arba. And he kept finding a way to get in front of me in every lane that I switched to and stop. So it was like I'd move to the right, he'd move in front of me, stop.
You're not even sure what you did, right?
No, I wasn't sure what I did, to the point where, and we were also driving really fast. I was coming to Mishmeret in the afternoon, so it was like 1:30. The traffic was pretty quiet, and we were driving like 120 or something. And he got in front of me when I was in the left lane, and he stopped, and I slammed on my brakes, and I almost died. Like, I literally almost died. And not only me, think about all the people behind me.
Yes. I mean, I've been in traffic.
Do people not fucking realize you could die in a car? Like, it's crazy. It's just so crazy. Don't you want to see your family? Don't you want to go home?
I don't know.
What's the story?
I don't know, Dayna. I don't know.
Why? This beer's making me angry instead of happy.
You shouldn't make you so angry.
No, chill.
There's a disease, by the way, with cats that make people... extremely, they do risky things. Noach was telling me. And he thinks that the society's, like this disease is permeated through society. For instance, you'll drive on the highway and, you're going fast and you'll see someone stopped at the side and he's standing in the lane. I don't know if you've seen this before.
Oh, yeah, of course.
He's standing on a highway in the middle of the lane that you're driving in. And you have to actually veer yourself off the lane. Now, what is he thinking? I don't know. I don't know what he's thinking, but
he's thinking that that's the most convenient place for him to stand.
I think he's thinking that you're going to move. You're going to swerve around him.
Well, the way to switch lanes in Israel is to switch lanes and then put your signal on.
Why put the signal on?
Well, you're right. It is an extra
wasted time.
Waste of time and energy. What a bunch of freaks.
Oh, wow. It's great. There's so much you could talk about.
Great. It's so great.
I think what I think is that we came from a society that was not even American. Like Americans are much more aggressive, especially driving, than Canadians are. And we're extremely passive people, passive drivers,
It's not about passive. It's about following the rules because the rules will help you get home safer.
I agree.
That's why we do them, because they actually work.
Okay.
Here, people are emotional and they just do whatever they feel like to be first.
Like the friar mentality.
Yes. Okay. Let's
we could get into that too.
Friar mentality.
So one thing I noticed as a new immigrant, is that people are extremely, they put a lot of emphasis on not being a friar.
Right.
And at first I had to be told what a friar really is. I thought it was like a priest, like Friar,
Friar
Tuck. I had no idea what a friar is.
Wait, where's Friar Tuck from?
Robin Hood.
Okay, right.
But I found out that it's being a sucker. It's like being someone who, doesn't know the rules and sort of he isn't picked first and he's losing out he's losing out on every aspect. So what I found is that there's a lot of emphasis in this country on trying their best not to be that sucker.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
To the detriment of themselves in many cases, because you're working at something that's could be going against you in the long run. I don't understand it. And I mean, I think that, over years, I think it has to do with, maybe there used to be maybe a certain amount of meat available, let's say, or a certain amount of whatever in their supermarket. And if you didn't go out there fast, you weren't in the front of the line, you weren't going to get it. So you had to use your elbows, which is another thing we talk about people not waiting in line behind you, but they wait in line next to you.
Yeah.
And as you get closer to the front of the line, the person next to you is inching their way, thinking that you don't know that we're behind you, right? To try to get in front of you.
And they use different tools.
Oh, yeah.
Right? They use like the foot in front kind of move that it's like almost like, it's like every second you see them like putting in that foot. Right. Maybe their bag.
Or you could get in a line and get to the front and then 14 people say, oh, no, I was here first.
Right.
Because, I've been shopping. I sort of stamped my place in this line.
Well, it was only very recently that they came up with the number system here. Because before...
I know, it was like, I think
are you last in line? Are you first? What number are you in line? And you had to trust the person in front of you
to
tell you a trust system with people that you can't trust.
Wonderful. I'll tell you, I go to a supermarket only for the comedy factor.
It's true.
I get the worst service. The prices are not great. I don't care, but I get comedy. I stand around and I watch the screaming and the yelling and the insanity. And I'm like, wow, we could make a show about this. And I guess they did. Exactly. I don't have to watch the show. I can go to and see it live all day long.
I can only watch that show like when I after a good day. Because if I get home after a really bad day at work and I've just had enough with Israelis, I'm sorry, everyone, I love you, but I can't watch the show. I can't. Like, I have to be in a good mood to watch it, but when I watch it, I'm crying of laughter.
I know. Because it's one of the greatest things.
The supermarket in Israel has been a very important aspect of my life.
I love it.
It's like, it's entertaining.
Oh, the entertainment factor just alone.
It's a social experiment.
Is gold. It's gold. It's gold to go to the supermarket and just stand around. I do that, actually. I go there, I stand around, I wait, and I watch.
I'm crying.
And I'm watching the things go on. I'm like, wow. And then I get to the front, and I hear the screaming and the yelling, and I'm wondering, what are they screaming about? But it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
And you wonder, what is so important to scream in a supermarket?
Because everyone brings their personal baggage to the supermarkets.
Wow.
And they don't really even get dressed to go to the supermarket. Like, people come in their pajamas. They just really come as they are to the supermarket.
I don't know.
Here.
I shit you not, and I say a curse. I use a curse word on purpose.
Oh, okay.
Risque for Anti-Dayna. Nothing's risque for Anti-Dayna.
My name is not Anti-Dayna.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, it is.
If I'm Uncle kids. Dave, you could be Anti-Dayna.
Fine. Today I will be.
I go to the supermarket every single day on purpose.
Not purpose.
Not
you
only
go every day.
Every day.
Why?
Every single day
That's
I go
insane.
to the supermarket. I know, it's insane. There's two reasons. One is
because you want the Arab fishmonger to like you.
I do. Definitely I do. And I've given them all sorts of things. Right?
Free
I've
trips.
paid them off. Yes, I've given them all sorts of gifts and prizes and all sorts of stuff, and they still treat me like shit. I don't know why. I thought like I would give him something and he would be like more endearing to me. I'm there every day after all. Like they must be like, oh, it's you again. But no. So number one is that. And the number two is I love food. Like, I love food. I love to be around food. I love to smell the food. I love to eat the food. I like to play with the food. I love everything about food. So when I go to a supermarket, I feel like I'm at a place of love, and add the entertainment value on all of that. I want to be there all day.
It's like dinner and a show.
It's exactly like dinner and a show. In fact, I know all the people that work there, and they see me. They're like, oh. And sometimes I walk down one aisle, and I walk back, and I'm in the same aisle, and I've done this 14 times, and they're looking at me like, oh yeah, no, that's Uncle Dave. He hangs out here.
Hello to you. Do they know who you are?
Some of them do, yeah.
And you're going to the same exact
every day.
Vic?
I go there, yes. Only because it's around the corner from me.
Right. It's the closest place to do your social experiments.
Okay. And you get the best entertainment value there.
Right. That place is...
There's no question about it.
That place is
unbelievable. And I want to just tell all your viewers, if they're looking for some great entertainment value, and I'll go with you. I'll even we can go together and walk around.
Start doing tours.
I'll do perfect. It's like a comedy tour of an Israeli supermarket. I'll go with you and I'll introduce you to all the characters.
Yeah.
And
do you know their names?
I know them all personally. They're friends of mine already.
That's retarded.
Yeah, there's animals there, live animals.
Right, there are.
Okay,
there's a petting zoo.
There's a petting zoo of animals. There's multicultural up the wazoo. You have every kind of person, and I like multicultural. I'm we're from Canada. We have a lot of multicultural there, and here too. I love it. I love the supermarket. What can I say?
I still haven't gotten over the fact that the kupait, the cashier, doesn't help you pack your bags.
Yes, I've had long discussions with some of the cashiers. And
long discussions.
Like okay. Some of them, they're like,
what exactly do you find the time to?
No, because I know them personally.
Some of them. Do you have any of their WhatsApp numbers? Like, do you text them after work? Or?
Not at the super. I do in some other occasions, but not at the super. But that's a good question. Excuse me.
It's okay.
I did tell one of the kupaites there that, in North America, it's part of the culture to bag the groceries of the client. And she looked at me like, you are from outer space.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think?
Oh, yeah.
Who the hell are you? Like, they think that I'm like, no, I'm not trying to, like, she was very angry at me, like thinking that maybe she should be bagging and I'm like, no, they do that. Like, they do that. In fact,
part of their job.
It's part of the job, but it's easy because they have a special thing where they open it up and they just put the stuff in.
Right.
It's very easy for them. It's not even like hard, but you would think like.
Here it's like the opposite. As a matter of fact, like I've had to tell a kupait more than once, don't throw my stuff. Like, you're breaking my jars. Like, I have broken coffee jars and my tomatoes are smashed. He's like, like that. I don't get it. And the other day, I was at another all-star supermarket in Modine. All-star. They definitely win, when it comes to crazy behavior. And like, there was a lineup up the wazoo after me, and I had tons of stuff. And I said to the kupai, because people were starting to complain, I'm like, if I don't want to tell you what to do, God forbid, but like maybe if you helped me, then it would go faster. And she gave me this look. Like, if she had a knife, she would have stabbed me for sure.
That was such a
She
mistake.
was like, we don't do that here.
Right.
Okay? We don't do that here. And you just sit like this and waiting for me. And so now what I do, I pack so slow. I don't care. I don't care. You're not going to help me.
I think that fits into what we spoke about the vendor versus client responsibility or who owes who for the transaction.
Right.
So the culture, I think, in this country is very different than in almost every culture. in that the vendor, right? The vendor believes that he's owed because he is supplying a service for you.
Right.
Your money is not.
You owe him
your money
something.
is not valuable, right? To him, because he could give a shit if you paid him or not, or you whatever. I mean, not if you paid him or not, but he needs to get his money.
If you gave him business,
right?
He doesn't need your business.
He doesn't need your business.
You need him more than he needs you.
Exactly. So that fits in very, very good. Interestingly about how they see the vendor client relationship, whereas coming from a place where we come from, it's valued. You value your customer. You value them and their business. It's
not only valued; it's a tried and true process that actually helps your business.
Right.
When you give good customer service, it brings people back to you. And when you don't, people don't want to come to you anymore.
Right. But I think in Israel it's different because they're not expecting service. Yeah. The average person here doesn't expect to be given service.
Doesn't expect to be given service.
Exactly.
Okay.
They don't expect service. So
no. So when you get, even so when you get it, it's a huge thing.
Wow. But if you don't get it, I'm still going to go back next week. Like I'm still going to buy again because I don't expect it. Right. And I see that in my business all the time. I see that all the time.
You're, I didn't tell my podcast family, but you're a painter, Holy Rollers.
Yes. I paint houses.
You're an American. You're a North American painter in Israel. Right. Do you, what's the percentage of your clients that are like North American and
Anglos,
which are Anglo? Yeah. Anglo and Israeli.
Great question. I would say the Anglo factor is about 70 to 80%. And the Israeli is somewhere between 30 and 20. At certain times of year, it's even less on the Israeli side. And I think, I mean, it's not that I...
On purpose? Or is it just because of word of mouth? And
I think it's a lot of it is word of mouth more than anything else. And I haven't really pushed my marketing on the Israeli side. Although I have to say that the majority of people that are very surprised about the kind of work I do, more than anything, are the Israelis.
What do you mean surprised in a good way?
In a very good way. Like in a very good way. They have a hard time believing that someone would clean up, and right, and that someone would actually care about the look as opposed to just slapping it on.
Yeah.
So I get a lot more surprised in a good way from the Israeli clientele versus the North American clientele.
Are the Americans more annoying?
No, annoying? No,
yeah.
No.
Do they squabble with you? Are they cheaper?
No.
Israelis are more?
Yes, 100%. Look, I could break it down by Anglo country, and I can.
Oh, we can do that.
We could do that.
We could totally.
I don't know if you want to do that.
Oh,
but I want to just say
that
the nicest, the nicest Anglos in Israel that I've come into contact with are the English.
The nicest ones?
The nicest are the English. I have to say this. And I'm being...
We all have different experiences.
We do, but I'm being as subjective as I possibly can.
It's your
Believe
experience.
me.
I can't take that away from you.
Are the English happen to be the nicest, most caring, endearing people that I've come into contact with, followed obviously by Canadians, although Canadians are probably on the... And I guess you could say, although maybe not so much as like Commonwealth countries, which I don't think that's true because, South Africa is part of the Commonwealth as far as I know. But I love Americans. I love them. I love George Bush. I love that he invaded Iraq. I mean, I love Americans in a general sense.
What does that have anything to do with anything with Iraq?
No, because I have an affinity for American people. I really do.
I think it's an individual thing. Like you can't say that one group is like the whole group is like this, you can't put everybody in a category.
Oh, we generalize. You generalize. We said South Africans, and I also love South Africans.
I didn't say any. You said South African. Well, I just made a face when you said South African.
I just was responding to your face.
Listen, this is not a time to be racial or to, say anything negative about anyone, but... when we were kids, right, and we used to work for Dad in his store, okay, there was a huge South African community in the area where his store was, right? And the clients that gave me like the hardest time in the store were the South Africans. They just like had this whole entitled like attitude, like,
They have slaves.
I don't care what they have. They're not in South Africa anymore. And I'm not their slave. It's like, I don't know.
I love them. I love the South Africans.
Great. So
I love the English.
Love who you love. That's where we are.
I even love the Israelis, you should know. But you did ask me an interesting question.
Okay.
And the difference between working in my business for an American or Anglo speaker, someone who culturally didn't grow up here, and an Israeli is night and day. And night and day. And I don't know, again, I believe it has to do with this friar mentality that we spoke about, that if they pay the price that you ask, that's friar, right? If I say it's $1, you got to pay me $1, then the Israeli guy will say, well, look, I can't pay you $1. Everyone pays $1. I'm above that,
Where
right?
do you think that comes from?
I think many years ago, things were very different than they are here. There weren't as much, what's the word, like, there wasn't as
Advanced.
not advanced, like there wasn't as much, now we live a very opulent life. Everyone drives a car and everyone has a TV and everyone has, the internet, everyone has everything, basically. There's very little that it's lacking. But I think many years ago, there were things that were lacking in the society. And in order to get those things, you needed to be first. You needed to be the stronger one, the strongest.
Right.
And that was the culture.
Survival of the fittest.
Survival of the fittest.
Right.
And that's how you grew up in a culture, and that's how you grew up. Now, and it doesn't just change overnight, attitudes like that. That's my opinion. I could be wrong. I don't know.
I think that's definitely part of it. I think that it has its roots in that. But I think that what happens here is that, there are a lot of honest people, right? But there are a few people here, I mean, there is a certain Ochlusia population here that is not honest. And I think that because
like every
of
society, not just like every society.
Yeah, I think because of them, I think people have a lack of trust, especially like when it comes to paying for things, because they've been burnt so many times.
Right.
And it's like, yourself, like when you're looking for a garage, a musach, you don't go to the first guy, you don't just walk into a musach. You need to know the guy. You need to have him as a friend. You need to have a connection with him. Otherwise, you're going to get...
Which puts people like me on a very disadvantaged state because we don't have that history. So you should thank me for actually finding you these people and giving you these connections. I do.
But what I wanted to say is that, it's really annoying that you have to second guess everybody here. It is really annoying. And sometimes I'll take my foot off the gas and I'll be like, okay, they gave me a price. I'm just going to pay it. I don't have any energy to squabble and to look around and to whatever. Every time I do that, I get screwed over. Every single time. You have to do your research. You can't just trust people. It doesn't work like that. Unfortunately, it's not, you can't just trust.
Recommendations are key. I think that's the number
Protexia,
one thing.
that's the whole thing in this country. It's not what you know, it's who you know.
I would agree with that.
And that's a big reason why I feel like I personally don't really advance so much in my life, because I can't bullshit. I don't want to talk. I don't want to pretend that I like someone just to get something out of them. It irritates me.
Right.
I'd rather be like...
You're authentic.
I don't know if I can't be anything else. It's not in my nature. I can't do something for an ulterior motive.
I have some great examples of this.
Please.
I was having some issues with kids in school many, many years ago with violence against my children, I guess because they were immigrants and, that's what you do in a school in Israel.
They were being bullied.
You bully the immigrant.
Yeah.
And when I was brought in to discuss the issue and, I was told that if you want to, grow in this country, you have to start screaming.
Yeah. I'm
like, what? They said, if you want something, you have to scream. You have to yell. Well, I turned around, I walked away, and I'm embarrassed to say it, but I was crying. I was actually crying, thinking that I have to actually scream to get what I want. You were crying? Well, not
like real tears?
Not real tears, but I was
sad.
Very sad that that in order for me to protect my family against what should not happen,
you have to do something outside of your nature.
Out of my nature, right, I have to start to scream. Now, obviously, we tried to do whatever we could without verbal attack, but it was very eye-opening and depressing that they're making me go outside of my personal, and I don't even believe in it, to be honest with you. Although I see here that it's true that the loudest one wins, the loudest one gets what they want, but that shouldn't be the case. I don't know why it is.
I don't know either.
I don't know why it is.
I don't know why.
Because you're screaming and yelling means you should get what you want because you're acting like an animal.
Because people don't have respect here for rules. They don't have a respect for orders and rules like you see with the lines, like you see with procedures. Everybody's like, we were talking about before how like an elderly person will like just walk up to the front of the line, like step in front of everybody. Like there's like an unwritten rule that if you're elderly, like you go to the front of the line or, like just maybe not that's not the best example, but it's like
I understand what you're saying.
Everybody feels like their situation, is more important. Like they have something more pressing and it's actually above the law, right? For them to get ahead somehow.
We also should say, and I think it warrants it, that, unlike most countries, the average Israeli will take a bullet for you. Like the fact that we have all these young people in Gaza who are risking their lives.
Yeah.
You won't see that in other countries. Like, you if you're, God forbid, lying half dead on the floor in Canada, some of them will walk over you, right?
Listen, you're 100%
but here,
right.
They'll take a bullet for you. They'll go out of their way. They'll put themselves in harm's way in order to protect and help you. And I think that's almost like more important in a way than all these stupid little things we're talking
100%.
about, which are,
listen,
you know what I mean?
We're on a different planet. When people ask me what it's like to live in Israel, I'm like, there's a different set of rules here. It's a different way of living. There are different priorities here.
Right.
And you're right. Like in Canada, you get a flat tire. You sit there and you wait for AAA or CAA or whatever to come. Here, it's like the first person, maybe not the first, but someone will eventually come by and they'll change your tire for you. Yeah. You don't even know them. And they'll be like, neshama, they'll give you water, make a phone call, drive you here, drive you there. At the end of the day, we're all in this together. But at the same time, everybody wants to get ahead, right? It's a huge paradox here.
It is paradoxical.
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 It's weird, right? It's like I remember there have been many times, like when I was married and we went camping, right? Joe and I, like we set up like a campsite and somebody came, it was like a chorsha, and someone came and there was a lot of empty space. Someone put their tent right next to ours. Yeah. Right now. And I'm like, what's with the personal space? They're like looking right into my tent. I'm like, what's the story? Right. But then on the other hand, it's like when we didn't have A, B, or C, they were like, come on over, let's sit together. We ate dinner together, and all of a sudden we became family. Right. In Canada, that's not like that. You could die in your house in Canada and be sitting there and just disintegrate for like 50 years and no one would even know. Here, it's like someone's always knocking at your door. It's like their water's leaking into your apartment. It's like everybody's part of the same.
Oh, I love it.
You love it?
I love that.
You love that your neighbors complain all the time?
No. I actually like that a neighbor will come and borrow something because it but Jordan Peterson talks about this, by the way. It endears yourself. It endears them to you. The fact that you should actually go to your neighbors and try to borrow something because all of a sudden there's this connection. Now they don't feel so bad coming to you for something. And then you've built this relationship that you would never have had had they not, So we have lots of neighbors that come over and try to borrow things. Yeah. I always tell them I don't have it. Sorry.
Yeah. Listen, I have a WhatsApp group in my building. And I don't know, for a bunch of years, like I had nothing to do with the people in my building. And now it was like when you guys came over for Shabbat. This last Shabbat, we had like, 14 people, 12 people for dinner. Wow. And I don't have enough chairs. So I put on the group asking for like plastic chairs. And right away, everyone's writing, yeah, we have 10, we have this, we have this, nice. This. It was really, really nice. And it really like builds a connection between you and other people. And it was always important for me when I made Aliyah to I wanted to be in an Israeli environment. I didn't want to, I started in Ra'anana, right? I was there for about a year, whatever. I didn't like it because I wanted to have the full Israeli experience.
Do you feel that now?
That I want to have the full
No, that you have that experience.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah. I mean, my kids grew up only like except for in the home, they spoke Hebrew outside of the house. I wanted them to like very quickly like get into it. And also it's different for me than for you because I came here when I was pregnant. My kids were born here, you know, like I wanted them to feel connected, you know, and
I
they
wanted
do.
the same thing also for us, but it didn't.
It wasn't good
way.
for me, but it was
Why?
good for them.
Yeah, I think
Because I didn't have a lot in common with the parents of their friends, which was a little bit isolating for me. And then, like, you know, after like a bunch of years, then more Anglos started to come, and then things started to get a little bit easier. But I always felt like if I'm going to live here, I want to have the full Israeli experience. And I don't know if that was the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do.
It is.
Well,
of course
you know
is.
what
Why would you say not?
Because like I have friends now that are making Aliyah, okay? And they're always asking me like how to do things, and they're worried about fitting in and everything. And I say to them, you know what? You don't need to fit in. At this point, Israel is however you want it to be. Israel is not just one type of person. It's not just the Israeli anymore. It's you in Israel, and you make it the experience that you want it to be. And I think that's true. I think that the population is being saturated now with a lot of people from different countries, and it doesn't have to be just one way. Dave, from when I moved here 28 years ago till today, it's a different Israel. A lot of things have changed. 100%. A lot of things have modernized. A lot of things are way more advanced. When I moved here, there was no internet. I had to go from like government office by bus alone, pregnant. I'd get there. They're like, we're not open on Wednesdays from 1 till 2. I'd have to go back home. They wouldn't answer the phone. So I had to go every. That's not the same Israel as it is now.
100% it's not. But you spoke about isolation and your own little bubble. And I don't think that's, I'm in that.
Well, you don't feel that because you live in an Anglo community, it's easier for you?
I'm not happy about it.
Oh, you don't like that you live in Anglo?
I don't.
Got it.
I don't. Not that I don't like my community. I love the community. I'm missing out on society.
All right.
In fact, we could use this opportunity to ask people if they'd like to be my Israeli friend. Because
anyone who would like to be David's
anyone
Israeli
out there
friend,
who would like
I
to
will
be
leave a link, and you can
my
contact
Israeli
him.
friend. I'm looking for an Israeli friend.
Dave, you're not going to believe this, but an hour has passed already. No. That's freaking insane. Okay, we could do at least another hour.
Oh, we didn't even touch on. There's 100 topics we didn't touch on.
I know. So thank you for coming.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
My favorite brother, David Kaplan. I'm so proud of you, and thank you so much for coming.
My pleasure.
No, honestly, Dave, I would not have been able to continue on without having you on at least once as my guest.
Wow.
Because you're just so funny, and I love you, and everyone loves you, and appreciates you. Don't be a dork, okay?
I'm not a dork. Okay, I appreciate it. Okay. I also appreciate you, and I'm proud of you.
And I'm proud. One second, I'm proud of all the things that you do. You know why?
No.
Because you don't ask for anything in return.
Who should I ask for?
I don't know. You just do everything me'alev, and everyone that knows you loves you. So thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you so much.
And I wish us both a lot of success in the future, and just good things from the kids.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank
for
you.
What you do.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. See you.